was the morning of February 28. The Shajara Tayyibah Girls Elementary School in Minab was among the first places to be struck. Reports said the school was hit by 3 American Tomahawk missiles in 2 waves of attack. At least 168 children were killed, and the total death toll reached around 175 people in all, an attack that Human Rights Watch said should be investigated as a war crime.
اون لحظه 5 تا از بچه‌های من وسط کلاس حالا وایساده بودن بازی می‌کردن دنبال این بودن که بیان دنبالشون صدای جیغاشون رو شنیدم.
گفتم یا زینب خودت صبر ببین من اولین بار همچین جایی اومدم.
And this is where the question begins. If the roof of a school collapsing onto children, if a girl's elementary school being struck 3 times by missiles, if a classroom being turned into a scene of blood and rubble becomes normal in the memory of the world, then what will remain of our humanity? If a school is no longer a shelter, if a child is no longer a red line, then where are these crimes supposed to stop? Today Minab, tomorrow which school, which clinic, which hospital bed? And the war crimes of the United States and the Zionist regime did not end in Minab. In this war, the names of other schools were added to the list. From Imam Reza School in Abyek, Qazvin, where an 11-year-old student lost his life, to Allame Hilli School in Tehran, a school meant to nurture the Olympiad winners and future elites of this country. But even that place was not spared by the American Zionist attacks. But the fire did not stop at the schools. The United States and the Zionist regime also struck humanitarian infrastructure. From a medicine warehouse in Hamadan, where huge quantities of medicine were consumed by flames, including medicines meant for children. From a clinic on Khurramshahr Street in Tehran, where patients in the middle of treatment were hit by the blast and left injured. Tehran Emergency Headquarters and Gandhi Hospital, both of which were damaged in the attacks. And even to a care center for mentally disabled patients, where the residents were asleep and suddenly jolted awake in terror by the shock of explosions, without knowing what crime they had committed, except that they happened to be in the path of fire. These attacks did not only wound the hearts of the Iranian people, they struck deep wounds into the conscience of the world as well. Even Pope Leo XIV, in a rare reaction, referred to the attack on the elementary school in Iran and called for a ceasefire, saying that violence cannot be the path to justice.
Violence can never lead to the justice, stability, and peace for which the peoples are waiting.
When the image of tiny shoes beneath the rubble spreads across social media, borders disappear. The suffering of a child has no nationality. But where does this catastrophe come from? It comes from a dark and dangerous logic that says the end justifies the means. This is the logic of Western hegemonic politics, a system that in order to preserve its dominance will stop at nothing, not even the spilling of children's blood. For decades, the United States has dreamed of dragging Iran back to the pre-revolution era, an Iran that would move obediently within Washington's orbit. But what stands in the way of that ambition is the iron will of a nation that has sworn never to return beneath the yoke of domination. And the world has seen this brutality before. The Western war machine has turned such crimes into a pattern. Look at Gaza, where according to shocking UNICEF reports, the number of children killed or wounded has exceeded 50,000. Among them, more than 20,000 innocent children have been killed in the attacks by the Zionist regime. But are these crimes confined only to West Asia? No. When the dark files of Jeffrey Epstein's island were exposed, the world saw, without any mask, another face of the West's savagery. A network of corruption and abuse of innocent children at the heart of America, something that wounds the conscience of every free human being.
هرچی درباره فساد اینا شنیده بودیم، یک طرف این قضیه این جزیره بدنام و فاسد هم یک طرف. اینا در واقع نشون دهنده تمدن غرب. اینی که ما راجع به تمدن غرب، راجع به لیبرال دموکراسی غرب حرف میزنیم اینه.
When a child is reduced to collateral damage, tragedy repeats itself, whether in the darkness of Epstein's island, in the ruins of Gaza, or in the elementary school of Minab.
دست آمریکا تا مرفق در خون مظلومان و کودکان و بیماران و زنها و اینا داخل شده و آلوده است.
So where will these crimes stop? Under the Rome Statute of International Criminal Court and the customary rules of international humanitarian law, the intentional targeting of buildings dedicated to education, as well as hospitals and places where the sick and wounded are gathered, constitutes a war crime. But law without public demand, without the pressure of nations and the media, remains only words on paper. If this cycle is to stop anywhere, it must begin with the awakening of nations, that peoples rise up and restrain their governments, so they can no longer so easily sacrifice children, patients, and civilians to satisfy their ambitions.